Derry has deformity only in one side of his face, and that is a small portion compared to his whole body. But still, he is concentrating on that only. And Mr. Lamb tells him that you have two arms, two legs, an eye, ears, and tongue, and most importantly, a brain. If you can make the best use of all these things, you can live a much better life than other people. And actually, this is how people, those who are having negative thoughts, they concentrate on only what they don't have. And there are many, many God-given gifts, people often ignore it, and this is how they make their own life hell. They deprive themselves of happiness in this way. It is because of an attitude only. So now Mr. Lamb has told Derry that you have all those God-given gifts, and if you choose it, you can live a much better life. It is all your choice. And then Derry asks him, how can I live a much better life utilizing all those God-given gifts? Mr. Lamb says, same way as I do. I am also doing it because I don't have my original leg. It is blown off. I have a thin leg, but still I am utilizing all other gifts of God, and that is how I am living a very happy life. You can do that only. Same way as I do. Then Derry says, do you have any friends? Derry says that this man is saying that he is having a much better life than most other people, but in spite of having his deformity in the leg. But what about me? I don't have any friends. I don't have anyone with whom I can be free. I can talk in a friendly way. So what is it? In what way he lives a very happy life? That's why Derry is asking, do you have any friends? Derry thinks, this old man living all alone, how can he have friends? Do you have any friends? Mr. Lamb says, hundreds. Not only one or two, I have hundreds of friends. But you live by yourself in that house. It's a big house too. But you are living all alone in a big house. It doesn't seem that there are any acquaintance. You have any acquaintance, you have any close persons, and still you claim you have hundreds of friends. Mr. Lamb says, although I am living alone, but I have friends everywhere. People come in, everybody knows me, the gates are always open, they come and sit here, and in front of the fire in winter. Kids come for the apples and pears and for toffee. I make toffee with honey. Anybody comes, so have you. Mr. Lamb says, having friends is also, it depends on your own choice. If you want to have friends, you can have. I have many friends. Gate is open, people come, they sit, and they even enjoy fire here during winter. We enjoy fire together. Even small children, they come, they get apples from me, they collect pears from me, they want toffee from me. I make toffee with honey. Anybody may come the way you have come. That's it. Then Derry says, but I am not a friend. You are talking about people. They come and they are your friends, and I am also one of them. But I am not your friend. That is clear. But Mr. Lamb says, certainly you are. So far as I am concerned, from my standpoint, from my attitude, from my way of thinking, I consider you a friend. Certainly you are. So far as I am concerned, what have you done to make me think you are not? What have you done to me that I should think you are not a friend of mine? Derry says, you don't know me, you don't know where I come from, or even what my name is. This is our very first meeting. I have been quite unknown to you all these days, and you don't know my name, you don't know where I am from, you don't know anything about me. Then how can I be your friend? Mr. Lamb says, why should that signify? Why should that be important? Why should that be a factor? Do I have to write all your particulars down and put them in a filing box before you can be a friend? The way you take admission in a college, you fill up a form and then you enter all the particulars, then the college authority thinks that yes, you are eligible, they give you admission, you become a part of the college, you are registered, you are identified as a student of the college in a formal way. Mr. Lamb says, is it necessary that I have to write all your particulars and I have to put them in a filing box and then only we can become friends? Is it that much formal? Then he says, I suppose not. No. He agrees. Then Mr. Lamb says, you could tell me your name if you chose, and not if you don't. Knowing your name or not knowing your name is not at all important. If you want to tell me your name, you can tell. If you don't tell it, no problem. But this is not an obstacle on the way of our being friends. We are still friends. Then he says Derry, only it's Derek, but I hate that. Derek is my original name, but I hate to call it Derek, so it's Derry. Derry, if I am your friend, you don't have to be mine. I choose that. If I am your friend, that is your choice, but you don't have to be mine, because I have a different attitude. I have a different idea and definition of friendship. So far as I am concerned, I don't think you are a friend of mine. If you think I am your friend, it's up to you. Mr. Lam says, certainly. Then Derry says, I might never come here again, you might never see me again, and then I couldn't still be a friend. Derry is also applying logic. He says he is still having his old traditional thought that this man is speaking in a very peculiar way. He is saying that in spite of not knowing my name, in spite of not knowing anything about me, he says we are friends, but how can it be? This is our first meeting, maybe this is our last meeting also. I might never come here again. There might not be any meeting between us. How can we still be friends? Mr. Lam says, why not? What is the problem in being a friend in spite of all these things? Then he says, how could I? You pass people in the street and you might even speak to them, but you never see them again. It doesn't mean they are friends. The way I have come and talked to you, in this way we meet many people every day. On the way you meet people whom you don't know. Sometimes you ask him something, which is the way to the railway station. The unknown person will tell, take this road. So this is how we meet people. We meet unknown people. We sometimes talk to them in the railway platform or in the train compartment. You meet people. In the market you meet people. In offices you meet people. But this kind of meeting, how can this be the beginning of, this be the only thing that makes us friends just because we have met once? In Derry's view, this cannot be a case of friendship. But Mr. Lam says, doesn't mean they are enemies either, does it? Mr. Lam's view is very wide. He encompasses everything. He welcomes everyone. So his idea is very broad. And he says that you are saying that you have met me, maybe we will not meet again. On the way we meet many people, many unknown people. We sometimes talk to them, but how can they be friends? Mr. Lam says that his question is, do they become enemies? Mr. Lam's view is that whoever is not my enemy, all are friends. He is having such a large heart that he can embrace anyone as his friend. Anyone who is not my enemy is a friend. This is his view. And Derry's view is it is a very limited view. He says that we need to we need to be very well acquainted. We need to know everything. We need to spend a long time. This is a traditional way that what we also think. But Lam's view is quite broad. When Mr. Lam says, doesn't mean they are enemies either, does it? Derry says, no, they are just nothing, people, that's all. I don't say they are enemies either. They are nothing, they are just people, nothing else. When he says this thing, Mr. Lam takes it very seriously and he says, people are never just nothing, never. In Lam's view, human beings, our fellow human beings, they should get enough respect, enough importance from us. All human beings should give enough respect and importance to other human beings. That is how we can have fraternity. That is how human beings can live together in peace. If we have understanding, if we love others. Mr. Lam's view is that don't use the word nothing for human beings. People are never just nothing, never. This is a very narrow thought that people, they are just people, they are nothing. Don't say like that. And now Derry has again remembered those unkind reaction and response and people's unwanted behavior with him, and he says, there are some people I hate. He tells Mr. Lam that you are saying that all are our friends, people should not be called nothing, they are very important, but what I have gathered, the experience I have gathered throughout my whole life is that there are some people I hate, and I have reason for hating them because they have made my life hell. Then Mr. Lam said, that would do you more harm than any bottle of acid. Acid only burns your face. If you have this kind of hatred towards human beings, then this hatred is more dangerous than a bottle of acid. What did acid do? acid burned only one part of your face, only a small part of your face, the whole body is quite okay, fine. But hatred, if you have it in your mind towards other people, this will be more dangerous than a bottle of acid. Only, then Mr. Lamb says, like when Mr. Lamb said, acid only burns your face. It did you nothing. Just a part of your face was burned. Only the word he is using. So there is concentrating on this. He is highlighting on this word and said, only, you say only. Mr. Lamb says, like a bomb only blew up my leg. There is worse things can happen. You can burn yourself away inside. Yes, a bomb, it also had a limited effect. Only one leg of mine was torn off. And so far as acid is concerned, only one part side of your face is burned. It does very little effect. But so far as hatred is concerned, Mr. Lamb said, it can do worse things. You can burn yourself away inside. Hatred can kill your inner goodness. Your heart can be burned. Getting a small part of your body burned is nothing compared to your whole spirit, whole soul having been burned. That is more dangerous. You will be totally lost. You will be totally ruined if you have hatred towards other human beings. Then Derry said, he again has a story that I am not telling it just casually. I am not telling it for the sake of telling. I have reason because my life has been made like this only because of those people. So he is telling another story. He is saying, after I had come home, one person said, he would have been better off stopping in the hospital. He would be better off with others like himself. Derry is talking about a woman who commented when Derry was brought home after he was hospitalized. When his face was burned, acid fall on his face, he was taken to hospital. When he was released from hospital, he was taken home back. Then a woman made a comment. She said that this boy should have been allowed to stay in the hospital itself because other people having such deformities are there. So he could very well live with them because they are similar. Then Derry is saying she thinks blind people only ought to be with other blind people and idiot boys with idiot boys. In her view, if you are blind, you be with blind people only. If you are idiot, you live with idiot only. You should not mix with other people. If this is applied, then what will happen is that a village will become a village of rich people, another village will become a village of intelligent people, another village will become the village where only idiots will live, another village will become where only the poor beggars will live. That is what she is, her view is. So then Mr. Lamb asked, if that woman's view is correct, then Mr. Lamb's question is, and people with no legs altogether? If in her view, blind people should live with only blind people, then people having no leg altogether, how will you find enough such people to assemble together and let him live together? Derry says, that's right. Mr. Lamb says, what kind of a world would that be? If this is applied and we let people having physical deformities of the same kind to live together in the same area and don't allow them to go to the other parts, there should not be any mixing of healthy people and those who are sick, then what will happen is that what kind of a world would that be? That will be a strange world. Then Derry is making a comment which is very sad. He is saying, even if that world would be a strange world, but there is one advantage of it. What kind of advantage? Derry is saying, at least there would be nobody to stare at you because you weren't like them. Now wherever I go, people look at me because I am not like them. They find strangeness on my face. They look at me, they are afraid, they make comments, they react. But if that kind of thing is done, the way the woman is supposing that people of the same kind of deformity should live in the same area, then at least one advantage is that there will be no one to look at you just because you are not like them, because all will be similar. So no one will look at your deformity because all are having deformities. This statement of Derry is really very pathetic, very touching. Then Mr. Lamb says, so you think you are just the same as all the other people with burned faces? Just by what you look like? Everything is different. Everything is the same, but everything is different itself. That is a very important message. Mr. Lamb says that just because one part of your face is burned, does it mean that other people having similar deformity and you are totally same? No. Your face, it is burned. This does not mean any other individual having a burned face is the same. In spite of this similarity of burnt face, you are supposed to be different. One similarity does not make the total similarity. You may be different in many other respects. Mr. Lamb makes a sentence, you see, everything is different, everything is the same. This is very important. It means that, for example, you all passed HSLC examination. You took admission in the same stream, in the same college. It is all same. But does it mean all of you are same? In spite of this similarity, there are differences. What are the differences? That some of you are very serious about study, some of you waste your time. That is not similar. Some of you have your aim in life and you want to fulfill this. Some of you are careless, just you are wasting your father's money. So that is not similar. In spite of similarity, there is dissimilarity. That is life. Just because in one sense you are similar to someone else does not mean that you are totally similar. This is what Mr. Lamb tells Derry, that don't lose heart. You may not have your face quite smooth, but still you may have some other good things. Interestingly, you see, God's creation, there is a balance in it. If He has not given you some things which other people are enjoying, don't lose heart. In a different way, He has actually compensated it. Sometimes you may find your parents are not loving you the way they are loving other siblings of yours. But that is not the fact actually. In some cases, they may be, it may appear to you that they are more caring about others. But in a different way, in a different situation, they will do you more favor. That is how parents make a balance. The same is the case with God's creation. Let me give an example. Those blind people. Blind people cannot see. And we who are having this capacity, this gift of seeing, we cannot imagine what kind of thing they are missing. But still they are living their life happily. They are deprived of one very important, one essential gift that we are endowed with. But still they are having again certain gifts which we don't possess. What is it? For example, a blind man, usually he is very intelligent, he is very clever. Don't think that he is not able to see, so he is very idiotic. No, he will prove you to be an idiot. And then one capacity that he has is that if he meets you once, he talks to you, then next time when you go to meet him, he will just touch one part of your body and will tell, oh, Prafullo, oh, Saidul. He will understand who you are just by touching. And let me show you one thing. If I have it in my pocket, some currency notes. Some currency notes are there. In 500 currency notes, you see, there are some 5 marks. You have seen this line, 5 lines are drawn. Okay. What is it? Then again in 100 rupee notes, you will have a different kind of mark. See, there are 4 lines drawn here. Can you see 4 lines drawn here? So in this way, 50, 100, 500 rupee notes, currency notes, they have certain marks on them. But why are they made? They are made for blind people. That blind people, so that they can identify. Braille, you know, that teaching, that way of learning, that in spite of being blind, by touching, their ability to identify things just by touching is such unique that we don't have this. So you may think he is very poor in many ways, but he is much resourceful than you. God has given him this resource. So God's ways are always justified. That's why you may find that you are similar like others in certain cases, in certain sense, but that is not everything. In many other things, you are much better than others. That if you know this thing only, that that can play a major part in making our life happy. So then, Mr. Lamb, when he speaks all these philosophic and very intelligent talks he makes, he is overwhelmed and he is wondering, and he asked Mr. Lamb, how do you make all that out? Make out means understand. How do I understand all these difficult things? That I had a superficial thought that I am blind, other blind people are like me, but you are saying no, just because you are blind, you are not like any other blind people. You may have many other qualities that other blind people or other normal people don't have. But how do you know all these things? Mr. Lamb says, watching, listening, thinking. These are very nice things. Watching, listening, thinking. So this is how actually great things happen. When scientists discover new things, they first observe, they watch, they explore. So God has given us a brain, we need to observe things. This is what a small child does. Only when we grow up, we actually start spoiling ourselves. But the way God has made us, see, look at a small child, he observes everything. He looks here and there and he tries to discover new things. So, Mr. Lam says, I make my life happy, I understand all these difficult things by watching, listening, thinking. I watch other people, I watch natural phenomena, I listen to songs, I listen to people, I think. So by watching, listening and thinking, but then what to do if you want to watch and listen and think? You have to first of all remove all those stereotype thoughts, all those preconceived notions, all those nonsense thoughts from your brain first, and make yourself free from all these things, and then start watching, listening, thinking in a new environment. Then you will see new things. There he says he is very satisfied now, he is very convinced now with Mr. Lemon. He says, I'd like a place like this, a garden, I'd like a house with no curtains. Exactly the way you are having these things, I want to have such things. Mr. Lamb says, the gates only is open. Yes, if you want, it's yours, no problem. He has so large a heart, you see. The gates open. If you want such a garden, such a house, such a lonely place, okay, utilize it. Apna samjho. Then he says, but this isn't mine. Simple thing. Anyone will think like this. This is your home. This is your garden. How can I claim it to be mine? How can I enjoy it as my own? That isn't mine. Mr. Lamb says, everything is yours if you want it. This is how I consider things. If you want it, let it be yours. Everything is yours if you want it. What is mine is anybody's. This is how I deal with people. What is mine, it is anybody's. Anyone can take benefit from it. Anyone can enjoy it. Anyone can have it. Then there he is very curious and he is asking, so I could come here again. Even if you were out, I could come here. Even if I don't find you, even if you are not available in the compound, can I come again? Mr. Lam said, certainly. You might find others here, of course. Yes, there is no guarantee that you will find me or Louis here. There may be someone else, but still you are welcome. Oh, then Mr. Lam says, well, that needn't stop you. You needn't mind. If you don't find me here, this should not stop you from coming. Just because there is someone else in my place, I am not here. Just because someone else is here, this should not stop you from coming. Then there he said, it would not stop me from coming, but it would stop them. Them is in italic. By this he means people, when they will find that I am here, they will not come because they are afraid of me. It is not I who is to be blamed. I will come. Nothing will stop me from coming, but my presence will stop them from coming here. They would mind me. When they saw me here, they look at my face and run. Mr. Lam says, they might not. Don't take it for granted. There is no guarantee that just because you are here, they will stop coming. They may do it, they may not do it. You would have to take the risk. So would they. You take the risk of facing them. You take the risk of coming and staying here in spite of them. Then they will take risk. First you take the initiative. Then there he says, no, you would. You might have me and lose all your other friends because nobody wants to stay near me if they can help it. There he says, that will be difficult for you because if I am here, you may lose your other friends because when they see me, they will stop coming. So you will lose your other friends just to have me here. Mr. Lam says, I have not moved. I have not moved. Moved means I am not changed with this kind of idea. Even if it happens that yes, other people will stop coming because of you, I don't care it because for me every individual is important. Every human being is important. I give equal value to all. For me, dairy and those who are not dairy are all same. So if someone doesn't want to come because of someone else, it is his choice. I don't compel anyone to come, neither do I ask anyone not to come. So my idea is very clear. If people want to stop coming because of you, it should be their choice. I will not then ask them to continue coming and at the cost of your company. Then there he says no. So then this is how their talk is going on. Very nice talk it is, and Mr. Lam is taking all the opportunities to convince Jerry that to convince him that life is large and you need to have a very wide idea, very broad mind to live life happily in spite of all the difficulties that you are having. This will continue and we will meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much for being with me.